Hey everybody, this is Strict 9 with Strict 9 GP, and this is episode 15 of my Out of the Park Baseball 18 playthrough. We finished spring training, we're about to start the regular season, and I'll probably just go through maybe play out a couple weeks here and see how we start. I've got my lineup set and should be good to go. Not many injuries right now, but I'll get to that here in a minute. The spring training, though, could not have turned out better. I wound up with the best record in baseball in both leagues, which I know that doesn't always be, that's not always an indicator of the kind of season you're going to have, but it just shows how well we were playing. And I had some tough decisions to make when it came time to um, set those lineups and the starting rotations and that pitching staff. I had some guys who really did good for me in spring training that I had to send back down to the minors. So that's good news too. We might have some as injuries happen. We might have some pretty good depth on this team this year. But you can see my record 21-7. I think we were 12-7 when I ended the last playthrough. I don't know how many we won. I wish I kept up with it now. It doesn't really tell you, I don't think, in spring training, the standings here, but I won at least the last 9, maybe 11 games in a row there to end the season or to end spring training. So it was a great start. And everybody came off the DL. Looking at my DL right now going into the start of the season, it's looking pretty good. Devin Ketchum, who I already knew was going to be out for the year, which I hate to miss him. I think he was a promising young pitcher in the bullpen. And then Joe Maylock, who's going to be out for another day, and he'll probably start in AAA too. But I wanted to look before we get into playing and looking at lineups and the pitching staff. The preseason predictions just came out, and in terms of the league overall, the Yankees, they're going to have a big year based on these predictions, and they should. They make some big signings. They were the team who picked up Santana, that great third baseman from the Milwaukee Brewers. They picked him up. I forget who else they picked up, but they had a good offseason. I know DeMond, their number one starter, he was the Cy Young winner last year, so they're going to have a good season, I think, barring injuries. And then Tampa Bay, they picked them to finish good enough to at least make the playoffs. But White Sox in the Central, and then the Astros again in the West. Some of the big predictions in terms of individual players in the American League. Santana, they predict he's going to have a good year. McKay, who's been a star now for the last few years, he had a monster year last year for Houston, 55 home runs, 131 RBIs. He's picked to be a top performer this year. Pitching wise, nothing really that stands out too much. Although, again, New York has a pitcher showing up here who won 18 for him last year, so they've got a good staff. They got a couple pitchers showing up here on the top performance, the top 10 pitching performances for the year for predictions. And then for the National League, a little bit of a surprise. They have Miami winning the East, 3 games over us. And by these records, or by these numbers, we would not make the playoffs this year. We would be, looks like 2 games short. They have Cincinnati and St. Louis making the wild card, Milwaukee winning again in the Central. But I have my suspicions about that. I know Milwaukee is still has some good depth. They've got Dowdell, who was MVP last year. But they lost a lot of players this offseason. And then San Diego, another good team who's been hot in this playthrough. They have them winning the West. In terms of the top 10 hitters and pitchers, I only have one person on that list, and it's a little bit of a surprise. Ochoa, they have him picked at 47 home runs. And I know he's got some power. He has hit 47 before. I would love to see him do that again, but I've decided to go, at least for the start of the year, I've decided to go with a platoon with him in right field against lefties. So he's going to miss some batting opportunities off the bat. So I don't expect him to have that kind of a year, but it is good to see that he's showing up. And then some of the other guys, this guy from Cincinnati who's been off my radar, I haven't really noticed him so far in this playthrough. He's fairly young, 28. He's a 5-star player. In limited play, really, he missed almost 40 games last year. He had 37 home runs. He had 42 the year before. Big power hitter, rated at 17 out of a 20 scale. They've got him hitting 50 plus this year. They've also got Guerrero, another good player from Cincinnati, having a good season. Benintendi, a name you probably recognize. He is picked to have a good year for the Mets. That could be tough for me because the Mets, they're going to be competing with me in that East. If I'm trusting the predictions, they're going to be competing for second place with me. And then in the pitching top 10 pitchers, we had no one show up on the top 10 pitching predictions here. Plyler, no surprise, he's picked to have another good year. Some of the other guys, I don't really notice anybody. Tovar, San Diego, he is a pretty good pitcher, but nothing really stands out in terms of like an outstanding performance. So it's going to be interesting. It could be a very competitive year if that holds true. In terms of my pitching staff, I went with a couple of surprises. I decided to leave Cantelme up, but he's not going to start. He's rated 2 stars right now, but a potential 3.5. He's got some good numbers if he picks up his control a little bit. I like the fact that he's a lefty starter, and he might eventually wind up in my starting rotation, but not yet. And then I went with Berger, who is really a big surprise. He was in high A last year, but his numbers look good. He looked good in the spring training, so I decided to go with him at least until I decide what to do when Maylock comes off. And then starting rotation for then Lockfeld, who came off the DL and got another start in spring training, Schermsher, Gowdy, and Rhea. And then for the starting lineups, I'm going to go with Kanan Smith against lefties and righties. I platooned him last year, but McMillan is not that much better than Kanan Smith, really. From the, Kanan Smith batting left-handed is still a little bit better than McMillan. And then I'll be platooning at first between White and Sluzarek. Barge will be starting against both. Devers is going to be starting against both righties and lefties. Lewis, and then Vargas, Mast, and Ochoa. That's where I'm going to do a little bit of shifting around with Ailman. Ailman's going to start right now every 5th game with Mast. I really think Mast has some upside, and I'm hoping he comes through this year. And then against lefties, I'm going to have Ailman start in right, and then Ochoa maybe coming in every 7th game or so. And we'll see how that looks starting out. Ochoa is not that bad against lefties. He's got a 10 contact, still good power at 15, but Ailman is just so much better against lefties. His ratings are really good. 13 contact, 17 power, 16 avoiding Ks. So hopefully he has another good year for me. So what I wanted to do, one more thing. I always like checking this when the season starts. Under the reports and info, the minor league system rankings, we're trailing towards the bottom after being up in the top 10 last year. We've lost some ground. That's worrying me a little bit because I'm going to lose a draft pick this year because I picked up Devers from Boston. But they have Cantelme being my top prospect, and then a guy in center who's going to start out at Lakewood, he's Clearwater, which is my high A team, Skylar Deutsch, and then PJ Moya, who has been a top prospect for a while. I got him in a trade a few years ago. I just don't know if he's going to develop into what OSA is really thinking. They've got him rated at 3.5 star potential. I haven't seen a whole lot out of him that would convince me that's the kind of pitcher he is. But at least if I need a September call up or I've got some injury problems, he might step in there. If I'm looking at AAA, there's Moya, who they say he's ready to go in terms of that arrow. Luis Uridia, who I picked up in a trade last year. I'm interested to see how he does this year. And then closer, Ramon Castro, who I almost went with in my starting rotation. He's only been up to Reading, but which is further than the guy I went with. But and I do like the fact that he's a lefty. But I'm just going to see how he plays in the minors for a while. He may be a call up though if he gets hot. He's potential 4-star from OSA, potential 3 from my guy, my scout. And then anybody else, Eli Poe I set down. Van Den Hooven, who I picked up in a trade. I'm interested to see how he does because I think he could have a future at first base for me. And that's about it. Not too many guys offensively I can rely on as the season goes on. But let's get started, and we'll play through a few games here and see what kind of start we can have. I don't know if we're going to be playing today. Today's opening season. Oh, non-roster invitee. That's probably going to be. It's probably going to be Berger. So I need to put him on my secondary. And anybody else? I think that'll do it. Let's see. Yep. And then Maylock just came eligible. I'm going to put him in AAA for now. And I want to see how AAA, what the pitching staff will look like from their manager. So he's going to go with Moya, Urrutia, Castro. He's putting him in the starting rotation. And then Maylock will be the closer. That sounds about right. So we're going to start it out against the Nationals, away against the Nationals. And we lost the first game, and already Mike Farr, a day-to-day injury, but minimal effect. He's only going to be out for a week, so I'll probably let him stay up. Rhea is a day away from being healthy. Let's see, at least we got some offense. Vargas, a pretty good game. Smith, 2 for 3 with 2 runs. Mast, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Farr wasn't terrible. 5 innings, 4 runs. He's probably going to be rusty because he missed so much time last year, so I'm hoping he'll settle in and have a good year. And I like to keep up with the news while I'm going through because, and there's a no-hitter already. Chris James, who is a good pitcher for Houston, he's had some good years. Never won major awards, but he's a real big power thrower. For his career now, he's over 1,000 strikeouts, so he starts it off with a no-hitter. And it looks like we got a rest here. And Trout just signed. Wow, he signed with Toronto. He's still got some life in him. Although his injury proneness is wrecked, he's still a 4-star player. And that contract was, wow, really generous. $29.2 million with a vesting option. And he's close to 3,000 hits if he gets if he gets some good play time in the next 2 years, if he can play out that contract. He may get to 3,000 hits. He's a lock for the Hall of Fame regardless. He's had a great career. Let's see if we can win. Oh, we do, 9-1, but Ochoa, oh gosh, he's going to be out for 2 weeks now. That's not good news. Lewis had a good game, 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs. Barge, Sluzarek, a good game. And Lockfeld pitched a solid game, 7 innings, just 1 earned run. But I'm going to have to put Ochoa on the disabled list. That's rare. He doesn't go on there too much. And this is his final year in terms of, I don't have him signed after this year, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing with him, but I'm going to have to probably I guess just see how he's doing in the see how he's doing maybe mid-season. I'm gonna put Hellman 6th, yeah. And then lefties that lefty lineup will probably be pretty close to what it is now. But I want Neidiger to get some time there. And then against righties, this is going to be the challenge. think I'll put Aylman, since he's such a good defensive player. I'll put him at right. And let's see. I think I will go with Neidiger, just to kind of get some speed there in the lineup. I think I'll bat him as the DH, and then move this around a little bit. Have him in that 9th spot. That might be a good place for him. And then against lefties, which we won't see this a whole lot. I think I'll do the same thing. I'll put Neidiger in there as DH. All right, so let's see if we can win the series against Washington. And we lost 3-6. So not a good start. Jennings injury there. He's a pretty good pitcher. So what happened? Offensively, it seems like we're not doing too bad. Shrimsher, though, got hit pretty hard. 5 runs and 6 1/3. 6 2/3, excuse me. So now we're playing in St. Louis, and we lose the opening game there, and well, even worse, we lose Vargas. Hopefully that's minimal. That's going to influence his running. But man, I just cannot afford to lose him right now. I think I'm going to gamble and leave him in, because I don't really have anyone in the minors right now who could come up and fill in for him. And just checking the waiver wire. Not much there either. So I'm going to gamble with it. I may regret that. Aylman was 3 for 4 in this game against St. Louis. Gowdy wasn't terrible. 1 earned run in 6 innings. Lost to Mays, who he was injured, looks like, in that game. So 2 more. Let's see if we can rally to win the series. And we lose again, 4-6. Vargas, he was 1 for 3, drove in a couple. Lewis 2 for 4. And Rhea didn't pitch a great game, so that's where the struggle is so far. Rhea 5 innings and 5 1/3, 5 runs. So let's look see how everything is through the week here. Bregman had a great week. He's on pace for 162 home runs. James follows up his no-hitter with a 15 strikeout performance. So he's on a torrid pace. Look at that. On pace for 414 strikeouts. I don't think that'll happen. So American League Player of the Week, Bryant Bowen. And then National League is Zach Beard for the Rockies. And then on the power rankings, we are almost dead last. 29 out of 30. Not good. Let me see where the standings are. So through 1 week, we're 1 and 4. Miami is 4 and 1. They're leading the way. Minnesota 0 and 5. They're the only team worse than us in the power rankings. Let's give it another go. We've got 1 more game against St. Louis. And it's a shutout. Good deal. Milwaukee-Chicago brawl. And looks like Mike Farr got a complete game shutout. Awesome. Addison Russell hit his 300th home run. Let me take a look at the box score of this one. Vargas, now he's at moderate. Gosh, I hate to do that, but I really think I need to see if I can keep it up. I can't afford to lose him right now. But yeah, Farr had a great game. 9 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. This is the pitcher that my scout thinks he's going to be, so I'm hopeful that he's right. All right, so now we've got a 2-game series, looks like, against Atlanta. And we lost the first one 1-4. Can't get anything going right now. But we've been away a lot, it seems like. Neidiger played for Vargas in the game. Mast another good game, 2 for 3. And Lochtefeld pitched 7 2/3 innings, gave up 4 runs though, 5 walks. His control can be an issue. and see if there's any major news there. And now see if we can at least split the series, and we don't. We lost 2-4 in extra innings. So now we're Elman 2 for 4, good game for him. Shrimsher didn't pitch too badly, 5 1/3, only 2 earned runs, but Castro lost it in the 10th, and that was his first game this year. Wow, we're into 8th game of the season. That was the first time he's pitched. Mike Cochran, another big New York Yankee. He's going to be a solid player in this league for a while. Looks like he's off to a good start. Before we start this next series at home, finally against San Diego, I want to see how Vargas is doing. He's still day to day. I'm going to push it out a little bit further and see if we can get something going here. Another loss, 3-6. Devers had a good game. He's off to a slow start, just batting 184. I hope I don't regret that pick. Gowdy, 6 innings, but 4 runs. Kane is struggling. He was my hero in the playoffs, in that first playoff series, and he's just since then he's almost lost it. Austin Hayes, big injury there for the Brewers. Let's look at the standings. We've lost 3 in a row. We're 2-7. Only the Giants have a worse record. No, the Reds, who were picked to finish strong, they have a worse record than we do. It's still early, so we can turn it around, and that's a good way to turn it around. 7-0. Vargas was back in the lineup. Good game for him. Devers 2 for 4. Sluzarek, who's off to a good start, on pace for 49 home runs, and he's going to have limited play. 783 slugging percentage. Wow. The lineup looks solid in this game, top to bottom. And Farr, another good game. 9 innings, 5 hits, 3 walks. It's the second complete game shutout of the year. That's probably going to get some notice. Aaron Nola, still pitching. I haven't checked up on him in a while, but he had a terrible year last year for the Cubs. He signed several more years through 31, but that's a vesting option, and he's a 4-star pitcher, so he's still got some life in him, but he's struggled. Bregman picks up his 2000th hit. He's going to be an interesting choice when he comes up for Hall of Fame. He's had a solid career in this playthrough. Looks like I lost somebody for 5 weeks in the minors. So one more game against San Diego, and we lose 4-7. We just cannot get a streak going. Devers was good again, 2 for 4. Sluzarek again, 2 for 4, a good game for him. Rhea, though, not too good. 5 runs in 7 innings. His ERA is at 7.30 for the year so far. Mike Meredith won in the American League for Player of the Week. Mike Picarilli in the National League. Cody Bellinger's suspended for 3 games. And then in weekly team power rankings, we moved up a spot. We're 28th. But we're 3-8. You know, we need to really start turning around. A good 5-game winning streak, and we're back on track. But looking at the rest of the league, Miami, they are started out really good. So is it Oakland. They're 10-3. Cincinnati's still struggling. I don't know what could be going on there. The Yankees, at 500, they were going to have a good year. In terms of players, any names here that look familiar? Chris James, up to 3 wins now. He is looking really good. And then for us, Plyler in the National League, he's on a pretty good pace, 24 wins. It's been a while since he's gotten a high number of wins. But we don't have anybody showing up on this leaderboard. Andy Bregman, though, he's having an incredible start. Let me play a few more games. We've got this Miami series coming up. Let me see if we can get through that and turn it around here. We pick up a win against San Diego, 7-5. Seems like our offense hasn't been too bad. Devers, another good game for him. Lockfeld, not a good game for him. His walks are out of control. He's on pace for 144 walks. Castro picked up his first save. That's good. And so we're now 4-8. And Miami coming up at home. This would be a good time to turn it around. And we pick up that first game. Ochoa is eligible to come off the DL. And I will probably do that right away. And that means Neidiger, who has gotten some playtime for me, he's going to be sent back, and I'm going to put Ochoa back in the lineup. I'll have him back in the lineup for these last two games against Miami. That'll be good. Let's see, how is... I want to see how Masta started out. It's looking pretty good. Elman's looking better. I think I'll put Elman starting in left every 5th game. And then Ochoa is going to be in that 5th slot. And then I'll put Ochoa in the outfield against lefties. I'll have him every 7th game. That'll look about right. And then I'll have Elman as my top pinch hitter. And he's got some speed, so I'll have him as a pinch runner too in that list. And then against righties, I'll put Ochoa as the DH because Elman is a little bit more solid defensively. And then against lefties, I'll do the same thing. I'll put Ochoa as the, because he does have some power, and I think he can still have a pretty decent year against lefties. So how do we win this one? Did I look at it? Shrimshire finally, a decent game for him. 2 earned runs in 7. Castro his 2nd save. Lewis off to a little bit of a slow start. Barge not doing too well either. Suzarek, though, has had a good start. And Devers has started to hit really well. If you look at him in the last week, well, I guess I might need to take that back. I thought he was hitting a little bit better. This week, though, he's hitting 400 in 3 games. And we win the 2nd game against Miami, 6-1. Vargas had a good game. He's back healthy. That's a good sign. Lewis 2 for 4. Barge 3 for 3 against the lefty, looks like, so that's good. Gowdy had a great game. 9 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. I need that from him. And then this is going to be the last game I'll play in this episode against Miami. Let's see if we can sweep the series. We're back up to 6-8. This would be a big win. We can't do it. We lose 1-6. Barge, another good game. His average is back up to 292. Farr, still good, a solid outing from him. 7 innings, 3 earned runs, but Hollis really blew it in the coming out of the pen. Anything major here? Chris Hester, he's been a pretty big pitcher for Seattle off and on. He's going to be out for 3 months. And then Juan Chavera, a big player for the White Sox. He's only out for a couple weeks. I thought that was a bigger injury. So here's how we started. Maybe we're starting to turn it around. We're 6-9, so playing a little bit better. Cincinnati, they are still struggling. And the Giants too. Man, they're starting to lose a little bit too much ground. It's going to be hard to pick that up. Astros, look at that. They're 5-12. Not a good start for them, but the Athletics, 14-3. They have been building a very good team over the last few years in this playthrough, so it's about time for them. They've got a couple of guys here on the home run leaderboard. Mike Elwell, he's a 22, almost 23 years old. Look at his numbers. He's got a potential 20 power rating, and he's on pace for 76 home runs. And then right below him, Ernesto Escobar. He's come out of nowhere. Looks like he's on pace for 67 home runs. I don't know if they can keep that up. And then they got Juan Sosedo, who is a great pitcher, 5-star pitcher. He's already had some good years in this league. He's already won the Cy Young once in 2027. So they've got a solid team there. They may be tough to beat in the American League. But we've got to pick it up if we're gonna be competitive and repeat in the East. Miami might be the team to beat. I'm not sure who they picked up. Maybe it's just a lot of their prospects are finally getting some development in. I don't recognize any of these names, so it doesn't look like they picked up too many people in free agency or anything. So that's good for them to finally turn it around, but not so good for us. I'm hoping we can catch up with them. But I guess the next episode I'll probably play through offline and might go up to the draft. I don't know if I'll go through the draft in too much detail. It's not going to be that big for me this year, I don't think, anyway, because we're not going to be picking until the second round. But hopefully we can turn this around. We got plenty of time left. I'd like to get through this playthrough. I'd like to get through this season before I start on 19. And there was another. The developers released another video today showing off that in-game engine, or at least that's what I call it. And it looks so good. Finally got player animations. The 3D ballparks look amazing. The design of the interface has been redesigned. It looks really good. I can't wait to start playing. Every once in a while, every few versions, I get really excited about this game. You know, they make enough changes that just really get you really excited, and this version is doing that for me. Probably not since maybe 16 or so have I been this excited about picking up a version of this game. But that's going to be later. For now, we got to get through this year and hopefully get back to the playoffs. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. I hope that you enjoy the series so far, and hope I'm getting better at it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in episode 16. Thanks.